For months, the U.S. military has been flying the Osprey, despite questions about whether it should be. The tilt-rotor aircraft was grounded after a crash in Japan last November that killed all 8 airmen on board. That crash was the 4th by an Osprey in the last 2 years. The military allowed the fleet to fly and said it mitigated the problem that caused these accidents. But the families of those killed in the crashes aren't convinced the Osprey is safe and want it grounded again. Nick Schifrin and producer Dan Sagalyn report from North Carolina.
At Marine Corps Air Station New River, the Marines of the Fighting Griffins approached the aircraft they called their workhorse. The MV-22 Osprey had been grounded for 3 months before we visited this summer. So Captain Dave Schroeder is eager to fly and make sure it's flight ready. He's an instructor who trains junior pilots.
Do you get rusty? Do other pilots get rusty?
Absolutely. Flying is a skill.
He's been flying military aircraft for more than a decade. He calls the Osprey one of a kind and gives it his full faith.
I'm fully confident in the way that this aircraft performs, and I trust my life in it. The flexibility it provides and the speed of range that we can operate is really unmatched.
The Osprey takes off like a helicopter and flies like a plane at twice the speed of other helicopters. The Marines call it essential to their mission and on average deployed 20 to ships every day last year. But it also has a history of high-profile crashes.
An experimental Marine Corps aircraft crashed today.
In Afghanistan, a U.S. Air Force Osprey went down.
A U.S. military Osprey aircraft crashed into the sea off Japan today, killing at least
Since 1992, 11 fatal Osprey crashes have killed 66. 4 have crashed just in the last 2 years in California, Australia, Japan, and Norway, killing 20 people.
It was such a heartbreaking and traumatic experience for so many of us. We're friends and colleagues with a lot of the families and crews, so initially we're just dealing with the loss.
Did you know some of the guys in Japan or California?
Yeah. One of my first initial thoughts was that could have been any one of us. I've got 3 young children at home, hoping to have another one soon. I've got a gorgeous wife, and they are one of my top priorities. So considering that could have been me, it was very emotional.
The 2022 crash in California killed 5 people, including 19-year-old Lance Corporal Evan Strickland, Brett and Michelle's son.
I don't think many people got to see the serious side, the caring side. He was an animal lover, musician. He loved jazz.
We found out, after his passing that he was probably going to elope. Crazy kid. That sweet little face.
One of the things that always hits me is when I'm looking at pictures, because there are no more new pictures.
When he was 14, Strickland attended an air show and sat in an Osprey cockpit. 5 years later, he was killed in one. He was the crew chief his very first day on the job when his Osprey crashed during a training mission. A military investigation found the crash was unpreventable, caused by a catastrophic and unanticipated mechanical failure. The Osprey is one of the world's most complex aircraft that has 2 engines mounted at the end of each wing. Each engine is attached to a gearbox and clutch that power the rotors. If one engine fails, the other engine can provide power to the other rotor through a drive shaft. And in California, the Osprey crashed because of what the military calls hard clutch engagements. The clutches slipped on both sides, then re-engaged, causing a power surge, damaging the drive shaft, and creating a catastrophic loss of thrust. The military acknowledges Ospreys have suffered a hard clutch engagement at least 19 times over the life of the program, but they don't know the root cause. The Stricklands and other families sued the Osprey's manufacturers for failing to address what they say are previously known mechanical failures.
My job going forward for my son, for those that have fallen, with him, is just to seek answers and accountability for something that should have been taken care of over a decade ago.
This repeated drumbeat of fatalities is totally unacceptable.
In June, the House Oversight Committee questioned the Osprey's safety. Naval Air Systems Commander Vice Admiral Carl Chebby blamed hard clutch engagement on aging aircraft.
Over time, the clutch wears out and has a higher susceptibility to slipping. It grounded the fleet and mandated that all aircraft will remove clutches that have over 800 hours. Yeah. That has been completed, and we have flown numerous hours since then without a hard clutch event. I want to make this point clear, though. That has not eliminated the risk. We will not eliminate that risk until we have a redesigned clutch. That is in testing right now.
The new clutch won't be ready until at least mid-2025. Not fast enough for Massachusetts Democrat Stephen Lynch.
If another Osprey goes down, we're done. This program's done. Ground them now. We'll bite the bullet for the next year or so until we get this clutch figured out. But we've already had too much carnage. We've already lost too many good men and women.
You're almost asking those still flying to like roll the dice. And it feels like almost like to play Russian roulette.
Are they doing what's necessary to fix the problem and to find the actual cause? Not just, how can we...
A patch.
Yeah, exactly.
The Marines told NewsHour the Osprey has flown more than 600,000 flight hours, and that its 10-year average mishap rate is lower than some of the other aircraft they fly, such as the Harrier, Hornets, and Super Stallion.
Do you believe the Osprey is safe?
I do believe the Osprey is safe. I fly it right along with every other pilot that I have in this squadron, and I don't have a single doubt.
Back at New River, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Pullinger is the Fighting Griffins' commanding officer.
If you hear, see, smell anything that requires the aircraft to abort while we're in a hover, call abort over the ICS.
Schroeder, who since we filmed this left the military, trains on mitigating emergencies, even if he doesn't always know the cause.
If you don't know the root cause, if you don't officially know the root cause, then how do you know it's safe?
When I look at the numbers that were provided to us, I feel very confident that there's such a low chance of it happening again that I want to get back in the aircraft.
They keep discussing that the root cause is not known. To me, logically, the root cause is the clutch is too small.
Rex Rivolo is a retired Air Force pilot who flew combat missions over Vietnam and was, for 16 years, the Defense Department's chief Osprey analyst. He says the military's mitigation doesn't address fundamental flaws.
The drivetrain clearly is inadequate to handle the loads. The history of the clutch engagements and now this complete failure of the gearbox clearly indicates that there is a design problem.
Failure inside the gearbox that's behind the rotors, in part, caused last year's crash in Japan. The military investigation found that the aircraft's left-hand gearbox started chipping, causing the gear's teeth to grind down, leading to, quote, rapid cascading failures of the drive system. The report also said the crew could have landed earlier when the chips were initially detected. But gearbox failure is another risk the military has known about for years. An unreleased Safety Investigation Board review obtained by military.com found a gearbox failed in 2013 due to a manufacturing defect in the way the gears were made, and documents obtained by the Associated Press showed 7 previous cases of cracking. The Japan crash report unusually blamed senior Pentagon leadership. Quote, safety assessments and their findings were given insufficient treatment at the program level and have been inadequately communicated to the military services.
There is a strong desire to keep these aircraft flying. And basically, you compromise good judgment in order to do that. And that is a leadership problem.
Rivolo urges the military to install an additional warning system similar to the kind that exists on this type of British military helicopter that would alert the pilot to unusual vibrations.
The V-22 does not do it, even though they have the onboard systems to make the detections. In today's environment, that's unconscionable.
Until those changes to design that you're advocating can be made, or there can be a better warning system, should the aircraft be grounded?
Yes, the aircraft should be grounded.
We all think that they should be grounded, that no mother should go through this.
Gabriella Lavoie is the mother of 33-year-old Technical Sergeant Zachary Lavoie, who died in the crash in Japan. He'd been in the Air Force for 10 years. He'd planned to get out, get married, and start a family.
It's been hard. It's been really hard. You don't expect to outlive your children, especially somebody that, we're not in times of war. It was just a training mission.
How hard is it to talk about it now?
I had talked to him maybe 2 days before, and we were making plans for him to come and visit for Christmas. It was a very happy time. We had a good talk, and then suddenly, he's gone.
It is a plane that airmen and the Marines love and the military calls vital.
Yep.
But all these families want is to make sure it's safe. For the PBS News Hour, I'm Nick Schifrin in Jacksonville, North Carolina.